I think actually if the Democrats were in charge right now, we'd probably be going to war with Russia. By the way, on the Trump thing in Russia, the simple fact is that let's pretend that whatever the Democrats are saying right now is true and Trump is a secret agent or has been compromised or whatever. That is absolutely an act of war. So if you were to take down not only Trump, but Pence, the entire administration, put Democrats in charge because Russia installed a president, that's literally quite possibly the biggest act of war you could possibly do. Well, then we have to go to war with Russia. Do you think we should go to war with Russia? Because I don't. And so that's why I think that this is all kind of nonsense. And if you were to pin any of these people, Al Franken or any of these people at the hearings, and be like, well, do you think we should go to war with Russia? Because you're obviously saying this is an act of war. They installed a president in America. You're not going to get them to say it because I don't think they really believe half of what they're saying.
So there's some chance that the president is a Russian agent, but you can't investigate because that would mean war with Russia. The logic here is baffling. Why is Rubin so sure that the Democrats are lying about their Russia concerns? At the very least, there's enough evidence to warrant concern. The FBI has confirmed they're investigating the Trump-Russia connection. Paul Manafort, who was part of Trump's campaign, is already confirmed to have worked as a foreign agent. Michael Flynn is seeking immunity over the Russia inquiry. There's a lot of smoke here, so why is Rubin so dismissive and why is he fear-mongering over the effects of the investigation which has already started?
I think in a lot of ways he's a moderate. I mean, he stood at the Republican National Convention and talked about gay people and got a standing ovation. What Republican has done that? He moderated that. Everyone knows he doesn't really care about abortion.
What difference does it make if Trump personally cares about abortion when he legislates from a pro-life perspective?
I think he's going to try to give a little more power back to the states. I think this sanctuary city thing is really interesting because Democrats now are suddenly fighting for state power because they don't want the federal funds cut. So now they're all about state power, so he's flipped them backwards on this. By the way, immigration should be done by the feds, in my estimation. And I think constitutionally, it wouldn't make sense if every state could figure out what its own immigration policy is. So I don't even have a real problem with that. So basically, I'm just trying not to be hysterical with him. If suddenly tomorrow he's like, we're going to war with Canada, just any crazy stuff, of course I would be against it. But there's so much, there is so much hysteria that I'm trying to bring a little sanity to it. And by the way, while I still focus a lot on the left on all this stuff, it's because that's where all of the media is there, all of the academia is there, all of the mainstream everything is all being controlled by this horrific ideology that I truly believe could alter and destroy this country, all of the freedoms that we have. So it's like we've had a couple wins against them, and people are like, no, you have to attack Trump. And it's like, wait a minute, we finally got a little win here in the war. And it's like, you don't just get a little pinprick and then run away and do something else. You got to keep going. So I'll keep calling it like I see it, but I'm just trying not to be hysterical. I think actually if the Democrats were in charge right now, we'd probably be going to war with Russia. There's so much hysteria that I'm trying to bring a little sanity to it. While I still focus a lot on the left on all this stuff, it's because that's where all of the media is there, all of the academia is there. All of the mainstream everything is all being controlled by this horrific ideology that I truly believe could alter and destroy this country, all of the freedoms that we have. There is so much hysteria that I'm trying to bring a little sanity to it. Yeah, so I haven't done a ton on healthcare, and I should, so I'm glad you asked this question. My basic idea around healthcare is that I think it should be single payer, meaning that it should be private insurance companies and the government should sort of be facilitating the exchange around them. I do think there's some role for government here. To pretend that there isn't is kind of crazy because at the end of the day, let's pretend government had nothing to do with it. All the people who could afford healthcare get it. Well, then what's going to happen is that what's going to happen is what used to happen, which is that people who can't afford it won't get it. They're going to start going to emergency rooms and we still end up paying for it. So this is a place where I think this is a little more of a classical liberal idea, that I want the market to basically dictate itself and help as many people as possible, and that when you get more people in, then it will push costs down. But at the same time, I understand that the government has some role here. I don't think you can get the government completely out of this.
Jesus Christ, Rubin. How is your one position that you support single payer but you haven't even researched what single payer is? It's in the words. Single payer. What you just described is multi-payer. You basically described Obamacare. Single-payer healthcare is a system in which the residents pay the state, via taxes in amounts determined by the state, to cover healthcare costs, rather than individuals buying from private insurers competing for their business.
Another great example of that is some of the regulation stuff. So I saw like Bill Maher said something about how Trump cut one of these environmental regulations, and now companies can start spilling in the rivers again, and blah, 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 and everyone starts screaming, oh my God. Well, guess what? We don't live in 1950 where companies could secretly do all this stuff and nobody knew what was happening. We now live in a day where we're all freaking walking around with a phone. We're all Snapchatting and tweeting and Instagramming everything. If a company started doing that in the river, the social backlash against it would be huge. So I do believe that more companies will act responsibly because of technology. So trust some of us, our ability to govern ourselves. Now, that doesn't mean, of course, there's going to be some bad actors and some evil company that just wants profits might do something terrible, and then you deal with that then. But just putting all of these regulations on all of these companies with good intentions doesn't mean that you're going to get the good result.